Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Into the Storm, sponsored by VIP Mortgage and Bison Ventures Informed Mortgage Lending. Thank you, Trey. Trey's my nephew over there. He's doing the podcast engineering. My sister does the podcast production, Trisha Madrid. So thanks, guys. Today we have some special guests. I've known them for quite some time. We share they work at a place where I where I have a relationship. So we have Daniel Barraza and Modesto Lopez from the Barraza team and underneath the My Home Group company.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's right. And he's Daniel's the OG there. Been there forever. How long have you been there now? Since inception?
Over 10 years. I joined in 2012. June. I think I actually joined before. I joined in about March 2012. But then if you look on the Arizona Department of Real Estate, it says June 2012. I think they switched offices or something, and then they re-registered me. But so I've been there for over 10 years.
Wow. What were you doing before that? Were you a traditional realtor before that, or?
So from 2008 through about 2010, when the market was really, really bad in 2008, at the time I was a youth director, and I also worked at before I got laid off, I used to work as an inspector. We used to inspect the new builds.
Oh, okay.
Pulte Homes, Shea Homes, all those big builders. I would inspect the foundation. So I got laid off in 2008. I was also doing youth ministry at that time. And so I was losing my house, and I did a loan modification on my house. And being a youth director at a large Hispanic church, there was a lot of people in the Hispanic community that were being defrauded by don't lose your home scams. I mean, they were huge back then. Huge, and people were losing just thousands and thousands of dollars from these don't lose your house scams and foreclosure scams. So after I modified my house in 2008, then at the time my girlfriend, which is Modesto's sister at the time, who's not my wife, but back then in 2008, she says, all these people at church, they trust you, and you already did a loan mod on your house. Why don't you help people in the church out? So I started by helping people in church do loan modifications, which is when you talk to the bank and you lower the monthly mortgage payment. And I did a ton of those from 2008 through 2010. We did about 155 successful loan modifications. And it was all people with family and church.
And those were not easy to get done.
No, those took months and months.
I tried to do it, and I couldn't get mine done back then.
Some of them took up to 2 years. I actually have clients that didn't pay a mortgage for 28 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So a lot of those clients wanted to do a short sale, right? They said in 2010, they said, you dropped my payment, but I still owe $400,000 and my property's only worth $70,000.
Yeah.
How do I get out? What's the right way to get out of this? And at the time, the right way was to do a short sale. That was the best thing because it didn't hit your credit as hard. And plus, there was a lot of incentives that the government gave anywhere between $3,000 up to $15,000. One client, I got him $25,000 that the bank gave him after a successful short sale. Anyway, so a lot of these clients came back and said, hey, well, I want to do a short sale. And I said, well, I need my real estate license to do that. And I said, well, then get your license. So me and my wife, Ruby, we sat on the kitchen table and we flipped a coin.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah, we flipped a coin. We said, tails, you go to real estate school. Heads, I go to real estate school. And it was heads, so I went to real estate school.
Is there any regret in Ruby that she didn't do it?
Oh, she got it.
No, she got her license 2014. She got her license a few years later.
Does she do any production with you, or she manages the team some part, right?
Yeah, she works on her staff right now. So there's five core, which is me, Modesto, Ruby, Carla, and Diana. Those are the 5 core that works all our leads. And then there's a team. There's about 14 agents on the team. So then I got my license in 2011. When I got my license, I still had a pipeline of about 20 modifications I was finishing off. And I was going into the industry to do short sales. That's the reason I got my license, was strictly to do short sales, to help people that I wanted to help people avoid foreclosure and help people that I had already helped out with the loan modifications. And it's funny because I was in real estate school, and they would ask, like, why do you want to be a realtor? Why do you want to be a realtor? And I said, well, I want to do short sales. And the room was just quiet, Right. And the teacher looked at me and says, why? He's like, everyone is running away from short sales, and I was going towards short sales.
Yeah.
So when I got my license, I wanted a lot of brokerages at the time, they didn't like that I was doing loan mods. So I wanted to join a brokerage that did loan, that was okay with me finishing off my pipeline of loan modifications. At the time was Home Saver Real Estate. They're no longer around, but back then they allowed short sales and whatnot. I was with them for a year, and then I saw Mark and Jeremy's ads on the magazine, the Arizona School of Real Estate and Business. Yeah. I saw their ads, and their ads were always like off the wall. They were so different than everyone else. You know, everyone else and during that time, I mean,
they're still a little different.
Those men are a little different.
Yeah,
in all the good ways.
They are, and their ads just like it really popped out at me. I said, man, these guys are different.
Yeah.
Everyone else was, targeting the same thing, but these guys were just different, and they called it got my attention. I reached out, called Mark. I called the number on the ad, and Mark answered.
How did he answer?
Hello.
This is Mark.
And I told him, I said, the brokerage I'm with, they sold their brokerage, and I want to take my license somewhere else. And he's like, well, how long have you been doing this? I said, for about a year. And he kind of like, And then I said, he asked me how many listings you have. At the time, I probably had about 75, 80 listings. But all of them were short sales. Like all of them were short sales. Right. And he's like, you're a year in the industry and you have 80 listings? I said, yeah. And he says, what? How? So they're short sales. And he's like, why? So anyways, long story short, that's how I got into it. I did loan modifications to serve people in the Hispanic community. The Hispanic community at that time were very underserved. Yeah. Very underserved. And that's the reason I started helping with the loan mods, and I got my real estate license to better serve them. I have this an old Instagram picture that I have on my Instagram, and it says, with words on the side of the picture, it says, my wife wasn't a loan officer. My mom wasn't an escrow agent. Yeah. The market wasn't good because it was crap. I mean, it was total crap. The market was just horrible. Yeah. And it wasn't. I didn't do it. I didn't get my license to make money or because I know somebody in the industry. I didn't know anyone. Yeah. I did it genuinely because I wanted to help people. Right. And better serve them, and that's where I got my license, and then the rest is history.
We're still doing the same thing.
I know. Yeah. Well, let's go. We're gonna go back to the your guys' community and stuff, because I want Ruby and that whole thing in high school. I want to get a little bit of that. But before we go there, let's talk about Modesto for a little bit here, because I want to know. I think your come up is super interesting as well. So talk a little bit about that.
Well,
talk about just before that, because we talk about the whole Procter & Gamble thing and all that.
Yeah. So I actually got my real estate license in 2006. Right. I was going to college. I went to ASU, to Arizona State University.
What high school did you go to?
Carr-Hayden.
You both did? Okay, just want to make sure.
Carr-Hayden, West Side, man.
Everybody should know that.
And then, so I was going to college, and I was dating this girl. She was a loan officer at that point. And, every time we went out, she always had a lot of money. Yeah. And, I'm going to college, right? I got a scholarship, and I was working on the side. I always worked. But, we were going to this fancy restaurant. She's like, I was like, I can barely afford this thing. What's going on with it? So she's like, well, why don't you get your license? I was like, what does it take to get your license? She was like, I think you have to go to school a few days. So I checked in, and I mean, I couldn't believe it was like 10 days of school or something like that. And I started going to school after classes. So I got the license, and she started sending me all these leads. And I think I closed like 10 properties, 10 units that year when I got the license. But the market shifted, right? And I was graduating I'm an engineer. I'm a biomedical engineer. So I was graduating, and then the market just shifted. This is at the end of 2007, early 2008, right? And I was like, I don't know. This is not a business for me, right? I'm going to go exercise my degree. So in 2008, I joined Procter & Gamble at the end of 2008.
So that was your first real job out of college?
That was my first real job out of college with my degree, but I've been working as a cook and manager everywhere I could get a job. But that was kind of like my first venture, if you will, with real estate. And I always had real estate in the back of my mind. Yeah. You worked in the corporate world, you know how it is. Yep. You become kind of like a robot, like super full of structures, and I did pretty good, and I will say, I got promoted very quickly. They sent me to Panama as an expat, and then Mexico City. So I had a very successful career in the corporate world. I was managing Crest and Oral-B for the entire country of Mexico, doing TV commercials and celebrities and stuff like that. With
How old were you at that point?
I was 26.
Damn.
I was one of the youngest brand managers in Procter & Gamble at that time. But, I was making all this money in Mexico City by myself. I was getting paid in dollars. You know what that means to get paid in dollars. And
So you were partying though.
I was doing a lot of partying, a lot of spending money. And
Yeah.
I mean, not that I regret it. It's just
Yeah.
it's just a fact. But I will see, I will come and visit my family. Like my nephew wouldn't know me. Yashua wouldn't
Yeah.
want to hug me or.
Yeah.
And that kind of started getting to me. I was like, do I want to do this forever? Do I
Right.
really want to be part of the corporate world forever? One day I will retire as a millionaire, but it's going to take me 30, 35 years,
Yeah.
right? Because Procter & Gamble,
Yeah.
they pay very well and they have great
You still have a
compensation.
pension.
Yeah, so anyways, I decided to one day, literally, I started looking to come back to Arizona. And I don't know if you remember Henkel on
Yeah.
the 101 in Scottsdale.
Yeah.
I got hired as a brand manager for Purex, the laundry
Okay.
detergent Purex for to manage in the United States. And I couldn't do it anymore, man. Like I joined Henkel, I was like, I'm just miserable now. I want to do something different.
Yeah.
And at that time, Daniel and Rui were like, they had a very successful, team. But I saw that they had some opportunities with the kind of like with the management side.
Mm-hmm.
So during a visit to his house, I was like, yo, why don't we partner up? Why don't we do something together? Like,
Had he already known that you were thinking about maybe like getting out of the corporate space?
Well, I don't know if
We had a lot of conversations. We would talk a lot. He would always. Oh, he was always interested in the market, in the real estate market.
Yeah.
I started
Always.
buying some of those houses that were listings that he had to kind of like create my own portfolio, and I started flipping a little bit when I was in Mexico and here. So,
Okay.
but yeah, one day
Let me
I
ask
was
you a
like,
question real quick. Were you like a nerdy kid?
I
Or were
was
you always cool?
I was the nerd
That was cool.
that was a little. I was cool after classes.
Yeah.
I'm still like.
Because you were an academic, for sure.
Like I was a straight A student and the one that knew all the answers and that nobody liked in class. But after
Know-it-all.
Yeah, but after class, I can
Okay.
switch my
Yeah.
the hats, if you will, and I can go from being super serious to
Yeah.
like party. Obviously, you know me.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Because
You know how he knows you?
yeah.
He knows you. I said, Ryan, which Ryan? I said, Ryan Madrid. Oh, the party bus guy from Jeremy's party bus.
Yeah.
That's kind of like
Yeah.
the name that. But yeah, so I became that. Obviously, I went to, like I said, I graduated with honors from ASU and
Yeah.
all that stuff. But
You got to be a disciplined person and somewhat of like just like, you have to be naturally smart to, I think, go in that degree in general. But, to flourish in that world, you have to be disciplined to study and do the work and focus and stuff. So it doesn't, and nerding is like in a good way, right? It's like smart, being able to do both that's a good quality.
and it's funny that you bring that up because, and maybe we're gonna talk about this, but I'm a data nerd, right? Like I love to see trends, graphs, like I can, extrapolations and all that stuff.
Yeah.
That's what I study. Obviously, in real estate, not a lot of people, I will say, and I don't say this in a bad way, like finish college, right? Like,
Yeah.
and some people I don't think even finish high school, which is totally fine. You don't need that. You have to have discipline and people skill. But when stuff like what's happening right now happens, when the market starts shifting, you got to start figuring out like what is the data telling you and when are we heading. So at the beginning of, when the interest rates went up with the Fed, I created a model and I started posting online like we are shifting.
Yeah.
And this is going to be the inventory, and by the end of the summer or the end of the year, people started like sending like crazy posts like, "Oh, you're crazy. This is never going to happen." Bro, I was too optimistic.
No. Yeah.
And you can look at the posts in social media. I was too optimistic as to what was going to happen because obviously the shift happened or is happening way faster and aggressive than we expected. But because I like, the trends, the data, the stuff like that. So
Did it shift your guys' like your mindset for like your business, where you're like, okay, based upon your information that you've created, you're like, okay, this is what we're gonna have to do differently from a business standpoint, from a marketing standpoint, from money?
Actually, it reinforced what we're doing.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So 95% of our business, if not more, comes from referrals. Right.
Yeah.
So when I joined, when we partnered in 2016, we started trying a lot of different things like Google, Zillow, and different activities, advertising, all that
Yeah.
stuff. We hired like 3 ladies to
Dialers.
dial, and I started looking at the data. I was like, this is not giving us any good ROI.
Yeah.
And then after a year or 2 years, I was like, we don't need this stuff, man. Like, we have to do the things that actually work for us.
Yeah.
And they're very simple. Our business is super simple. Like, a lot of people don't understand that our business is super simple. Like, we are constantly in front of our clients. We do 6 to 7 dinners a year, a big event, birthday cakes, calls whenever something major we see happens to them,
Life events.
and that's how we close our 140 units a year or even
Yeah.
more. But it's after trying,
Yeah.
after doing ROIs and stuff like that, that's how we came up with the simplicity. Or
It's all relationship based, and that's we've actually talked to somebody today in between the two podcasts. Somebody called me and caught me on the phone for the first time in a long time about buying leads, and I was like, we've never bought leads unless like a partner asked us to go in on leads. But we were like, we're just giving you like the opportunity and the funding to do what you're going to do, because we don't do that. We're not built for that. We've never done that. It's all relationship based, because we spent $150,000 one time on a Zillow campaign that literally we got like $3,000 out of. Right?
Wow.
It's just like, it works for some people. You have to have like this, like the dialers have to be really, really good, and it's got to be built for that world, and the market's got to be built for it at the time too. Right now, it's not where it's at.
yeah, I wouldn't know, right? Because we haven't done it.
Yeah.
But with Zillows, I know a lot of agents that are very successful with Zillow, right?
Yeah,
and
totally.
You interview a couple, I know, because
Yeah.
I saw that.
Yeah.
And it's just, we decided to focus on what has worked for us and what really serves our community, and being super relationship driven, and that basically,
Yeah.
that's our secret sauce for
That's
us.
what I was going to get into, going back to like, your high school days, or Carl Hayden and like the community. Do you dip into that world still? Is that a big part of your world, your business, or?
So I graduated in 1998, so I'm six years older than Modesto. My wife also went to Carl Hayden,
Yeah.
but she graduated in 2005, so I'm 7 years older than her. No, my base is my church, right?
Okay.
My faith, the community. That's when I started doing business. That's where most of my leads, my business came from, was people within the church.
Okay.
So I am pretty tight with the community, the church community, and right now, because of my son playing soccer, the soccer community. So those are the two communities where
Everybody
pretty
knows
solid.
what you do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what about you? It's the same.
Yeah, I mean, I basically.
You guys have the same business, obviously.
Yeah,
so.
so this is how we partner. Basically, he is the artist, if you will.
Yeah.
And I'm the manager, right?
Yeah.
So coming from Procter & Gamble, you manage brands.
Yeah.
So I was like, the Barraza team, everybody knew him on the West Side,
Yeah.
or a lot of people. He had a lot of traction.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me years to kind of like get myself out there as the agent, or as a. I mean, I've been with him probably 7 years now, and I'm barely kind of like getting more involved. I get my own leads now. People starting to know me, because I've been doing other things other than full resales, if you will. But it's been the Barraza team. It's been Daniel, kind of like the face.
Yeah.
And so I just tapped into it and just working on the same systems.
Yeah.
Same approach, doing.
So are you like the background, like
I'm
back
the back-
end? So
yeah.
you're like the CRMs and the marketing and like the database management and all that stuff? That's what you do?
Yep, a lot.
And
of that.
you're an agent out there, because I would have never known that, by the way.
Yeah, I'm the.
Stuart and I are super similar in that fashion too. Stuart's more of the inside, in-house, but he's more of the deal structure guy, and I'm more of you actually. But I wasn't. You were. We had different jobs, and we were Procter & Gamble. I was more of the sales guy. But it makes sense to team up with somebody who has different strengths.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
It's funny, like, you will think that we talk every day, but we kind of know what to do.
Yeah.
You know, in a sense, like, I'm kind of like the back cap, if you will, and he's always kind of like the more patient. I'm more the more impatient, the more aggressive.
He's the calm speaking.
And I'm the one that we gotta get stuff done. And so it kind of works, right?
Yeah.
Kind of works, and we've been successful so far.
Yeah, it seems like it. Yeah. So where does Ruby come into play then?
So she does a lot of the contract writing and contract setting out the contracts and setting up showings. And whenever a client, well, back in the days when, and not counting the last 2 years, but counting the future months coming up. But in the last 2 years, it wasn't this. But before the last 2 years, I had a client that wanted to view 10 houses, so she would schedule them. And get the showing agent and schedule them through showing time or whatever, and then contract writing. And in the last 2 years, clients there weren't 10 houses available. There's only one house available. So her job will kind of changed in the last 2 years. But that's kind of what she did is manage the clients that were already qualified, getting them to view houses, and then write up the contracts.
Okay, I have a quick question though. But you guys can both answer this separately, and be honest with me on this one. So it's the Barraza team. You two are partners. Has there ever been a conversation where, like, I want it to be Lopez Barraza Lopez? Have you ever felt like, hey, I kind of want to have my name on there?
That's a good question.
Have you ever thought like, fuck, because
No, like we had that conversation for the first time probably like maybe 8-9 months ago.
Yeah.
Just me and him, and I was like, here's the thing, right? Like, you have to, I believe that hustle is a season, right? Mm-hmm. And right now, social media has given the platform to everyone with a lot of work to potentially create a brand.
Yeah.
Right? Now, there's people that they have a personal brand that are selling toys online, right? Or like the lady that you just interviewed, like health coach.
Yep.
And, you know, although over the last 2 years, or 3 years, I kind of barely got my face out there, like, you know, it's actually two of us. Yeah. Or naturally, the clients have started to call me. Some of them, not. This is the brand. The Barraza is the brand. Yeah. But I was like, bro, like, how about we try Barraza Lopez? Yeah. Or we do something different. And we kind of like, we didn't make a decision. We're like, you know, let's just think about it. Let's sit on it. Mm-hmm. And the more I think about it, I don't think maybe it's not the right approach right now, right? Yeah. So we haven't really come up with a plan to do it, or we can execute it, but we had the conversation. But it was a conversation like this, right? Like, what should we do? Because it's funny, when I went to Procter & Gamble, I don't know if you know this because you work with them, Crest or Procter & Gamble bought Oral-B. Oral-B is the toothbrushes, Crest is the toothpaste, right? Yeah. One of the biggest dilemmas that Procter & Gamble had in Latin America, because Crest in Latin America means nothing.
Really?
Right? But Oral-B is the number one brand for dental hygiene, right? Or for brushes. One of the biggest dilemma, and they still haven't solved this issue, and I was part of this problem. Should we keep it as Oral-B because everybody knows Oral-B? Or should we bring Crest because my ego as Procter, Crest is the American brand. Mm-hmm. Should we bring it in and make Crest Oral-B? Well, they still haven't figured out. They have done multiple iterations of the brand. They started with Crest, then Oral-B, Crest dash Oral-B. My biggest project when I got promoted was because I was doing that equity work with them. The last thing I saw was that now the toothpaste is called Oral-B by itself.
Oh wow! That's what I thought you were going to. Yeah.
So they did so many iterations of that stuff that right now, the toothpaste, if you go to Mexico, across the border, I don't think you can find Crest unless it's a U.S. branded product. Yeah. The Mexican branded or the Colombian branded, the Brazilian branded is 100% Oral-B. So you have the toothpaste Oral-B and the toothbrush Oral-B and no longer Crest. So what did they learn, or what did we learn? That the power of the brand is more powerful than the ego. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Dude, that's an incredible answer.
I'm going to use that.
Because, you know, I've been dealing with the same thing for a long time, and Stuart and I have had this conversation forever because it was the Crawford team and him and I've been partners now for 9 years. And when we switched over to became Bison Ventures, now we're dealing with, we got rid of the Crawford team. Now we're dealing with it with how do we make it known that like we're still partners with the VIP family. We just have our own brand over here, our own boutique company, right? But we don't want anybody to think that we like left VIP or that VIP is not our family and the Jay and Keith aren't our brothers, and like, because it was never an animosity sort of deal. It was like, hey, we want to do this. Will you help us?
Mm-hmm.
And they said yes, because we'd been the top team here forever, and they're like, you deserve it. So now when we talk to people sometimes, though, they're like, wait a second, are you VIP or are you? And we're like, it's the same.
We just had that conversation, right?
Yeah, we just had this conversation. Like, we're part of the VIP family, but we're our own company. And now, even with like, we've had a couple loan officers that wanted to come join us, but they're not a but they're like, wait a second, so are we? I kind of like the idea of VIP because it's a big brand, but like, wait, so we're going to be on the Bison side, and I'm like, dude, it's just Bison Ventures. Like, it's fine. Your business is not related to the company that you work for.
Yeah, they're their own brand.
They're their own brand. You're your own brand, right? At the end of the day, it's like, you know, whether you work for my home group or one of the other companies, you're going to be
100%.
successful. It's about working with people that you want to work with, right? And Mark and Jeremy are great people to work with.
Oh, for sure.
So that's why we stayed under the VIP family and didn't go to another company and do the same thing, which we could have, is because Jay and Keith are our brothers. Yeah.
And we, to get a little more granular, even within Bison Ventures, it's like, do we bring back the Crawford team? That brand recognition with Stuart's name, even though you have been a 50-50 partner forever, you know, there's that debate too. Is
right.
it,
do
we put Ryan somehow?
Now are we going to do Crawford Madrid now? That's what we're kind of at now.
Well, you know, if I can tell you straight up the data and the facts, I think that the moment you went to VIP, and this is just my opinion because I don't know your business and I'm not trying to tell you that I can, but if I just go based on data, you're not going to be able to bring 100% of that business, in my opinion, and based on data, to the Bison brand, because some people, for whatever reason, they recognize the VIP, or if you're trying to attract talent, right? VIP has way of a bigger recognition versus Bison Ventures. So if depends on where you want to take your brand or the business. Again, I'm only talking about the brand. Let's forget about the financials of it. Like,
this is an Oral-B Crest thing right here.
You have to.
It is.
Because if I were you, and this is again, and it's funny that we're talking about, or interesting that we're talking about this. If I were to, you would have done VIP/Bison Ventures to kind of give you a kick in, right?
Yeah, there's some things that we think we could have done better.
Yeah, so
but it's like we're at the point where it's a little late on this whole deal. But we do have the ability to kind of bring back again all our relationships. We kept all relationships. I mean, we're at my home group, the Brokery, and another big brokerage here. And so being in the North & Co. So with North & Co. Brokery and my home group, and it's like, we have those relationships. We've had those relationships for the most part forever, right? We've been in my home group for almost 9 years too, right? So all our clients are basically the same people, which is kind of weird. I mean, as we grow, as we as every year we get a couple more and a couple people fall off, you know. But it goes back to like recruiting wise, right? So it's a whole conversation, and that we never expected that we were going to have to do, because we personally didn't know how like well known or big of a brand VIP was. Yeah. We just knew that we did it, we built it. We're like, it's art, we built it. We brought all these people here. We were the big, you know, we were VIP.
Yeah.
And now we were like, we went through this whole market. It's like they're interviewing me now. It's this whole podcast.
Good.
So this whole branding thing, right? And hired a company, and you know, and did everything from our core ideas and you know, our motto and the core beliefs and you know, branded they went through the name and why we came up with the name and and all this stuff. And then at the end we're like, fuck, should we have done Bison financial. Should we have done Bison? But the whole point with the ventures was that
You can venture.
it creates conversations of like, what is it, right? Which is great, and it has done that. We've done a lot of great conversations, but we just know like it's going to take time, right? We're brand new. We're only 4 months old, but we're not. Like our brand is like who we are personally in the community. Everybody knows who we are, and we're doing. And Trisha does all the marketing, right? So we're doing a pretty damn good job of getting ourselves out there. But again, you guys didn't know, and I've seen you guys multiple times since we started. So we need to do a better job.
We need to be talking to everybody we interface with, especially agents.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
To make sure.
Yeah, and one comment or one story, like the power of brands are, sometimes people don't understand the power of a brand.
Yeah.
Procter & Gamble is a house of brands.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
it's kind of like a Gucci, you know, like, so once you create a brand, for whatever reason,
Yeah.
it takes so many time, energy, and money
Yeah.
to be able to allocate the values, the purpose, the meaning of whatever brand you were trying to do to the other one. And that's just pure data and facts and trial and error from many companies. Not only Procter & Gamble, Henkel had the same issue when they started they bought Dial from, it's a German, they bought Henkel, the German company bought Dial.
Yep.
And Germans apparently are way more smarter. They're like, forget about Henkel. I'm going to keep the Dial Corporation initially. It took them like 20, 15 years for them to decide to like, you know what, let's change this a little bit. That's what they sold Scottsdale. And now they're back in Connecticut, you know, managing everything from there. So once you understand the power of brand and you manage the business from a brand perspective, you start making different decisions. Now, not every company is the same.
Yeah.
Right? And some people manage their business through financials. Some people manage their business through brand. It's a different approach. And we can spend hours here because that's what I used to do, right?
Yeah.
So it's interesting when you look at, you know, that question overall for different.
So you guys are at the point now where, like, because of all the knowledge, you probably have too much information of why it would be a good idea to either merge or not merge the names.
I think that, you know, we definitely not going to make a change right now.
Yeah.
It's not something that we said we're going to do. I think what I found a little bit of ease for me is like, what else can I do on the side? You know, what else can I change my, you know, because it is not my goal to be a real estate agent for 30 years. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's why I left the corporate world.
Yeah.
So I created a portfolio now. I do flippings. You know, I'm looking into different businesses that potentially I can buy. So what is my next evolution? So that maybe one day, as a retirement plan, or the next, can we sell the Barraza team?
Yeah.
Because we're not going to sell an office.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We're not going to sell an office. We're going to sell a very simple system, a brand, so that we can go to Cancun or whatever the heck we want to do. You know what I'm saying? Or just go to a different.
Weren't you just in Cancun?
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Every month.
That house was sick.
Yeah.
Every month?
Every month I go out. Yeah.
Do you really?
Yeah.
He likes to travel a lot.
Yeah, that's one of your passions. Huh?
But with the whole brand thing, it's like your reputation almost. Right?
Yeah.
And which is why throughout the years of the team and growing the team and letting people in on the court, especially the core team, meaning those on W-2, right? Those that work directly with my leads, they have to have your same core values. They have to have the same vision. They have to have the same mission.
Yeah.
You can't have someone who doesn't believe in your vision, who hates your values, who disagrees with your faith, and because it's gonna mess up your brand. It's gonna mess up your reputation. So for me, I may sound a little bit cocky with saying this, but it feels good when I hear other people in the West Valley or the Hispanic community talk about the Barraza team. For those that know it, there's a good reputation behind it. They know if someone's working with the Barraza team, okay, they're going to be taken care of. They're going to be well taken care of. They're not going to be defrauded. They're not going to be cheated. They're going to be looked after. And those guys are going to answer the call. Those guys are going to answer the phone, right? That's just so that building that up, it can't happen overnight.
Yeah.
And even though if for many years someone trashed a brand by doing whatever. Doing crappy things.
Yeah.
And okay, I want to change the brand now. You can't. You've already had that reputation for a long time. To try to change that brand, you might as well do a whole.
Forces a rebrand.
Yeah, forces a rebrand.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
to and that's one of the things that we're thinking about and having a lot of thought into is it feels good to for me when I hear other agents or other people talk about the Barraza team. I already know that it has a good reputation.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
It does. I mean, it's so you have got, I mean, it's almost like you guys could be you're as part of the same team, but you have your own thing, your own team. I mean, not your own team, but your own like identity, right? You have your own brand. Because you do have your own brand, even though you don't have your own name on a brand, right? You have your own brand. Like, I look at you totally different than I look at him. I know who you are, and I know who you are. And I think, like, you guys have probably the same vision and the same values, but you roll differently.
Yeah, absolutely.
Totally, and that's totally, and so do we. I mean, and that's totally great. And like you said, it's giving you the ability to do other things on your own, to go out and build your own portfolios and figure out how you want to, spend your weekends and go on your trips and stuff like that.
And now we can get into psychology, right? Like in marriages or in best friends, you tend to have some polarity, right?
Yep.
And polarity doesn't have to be even a gender thing, right? It's very like mentally, like mindset, the way you behave, the way that you brought up. So, we, without knowing, because we have a lot of respect for each other, right? Without knowing, and we are very family oriented, like, and I think that's the foundation of our relationship is very like respect. And then the family means everything. I will never put, the family comes first. Or before
you would never do anything that would put anything in jeopardy.
Exactly. So the business is a second, but the family comes first. And it's a family business, and we're really treated like that, right?
Yeah.
It supports not only me and him, like it supports almost everyone in the family, right? And so...
like the cheesecake, right? The birthday program we talked about, we give cheesecakes to all our clients on their birthday. My mom makes those cheesecakes, right?
No way.
I was just going to ask about this stuff.
And then the delivery guy that delivers them is my brother. Does the delivery? He's a courier. So
and my sister works with us, my other sister, right? And then and my mom at some points used to help us clean houses, or But when we go out as a family, who takes care of the check? When we go out on a trip as a family, the Barraza team. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, this absolutely makes sense.
So it's something that we have all, learned to tap into it.
Yeah. So
the polarity of psychology is that, we are certainly different. He has an experience what I have experienced, and vice versa.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he came from a very, Christian background, which his foundations in integrity are very strong. Mm-hmm. And obviously I didn't have that, but I came from a very, I'm going to get shit done and become something myself, like nerd type of approach where, I'm going to break through walls and stuff like that. So somehow we have been able to seamlessly like connect and be able to do it successfully.
Has your sister or your wife ever been like freaked out about the fact that you two are working together? Or she's been like fully like, this is the greatest?
For me, it's the opposite. Oh. Yeah. Like I've never told him this. So he's going to hear it for the first time.
Oh, breaking news. I love it.
Or maybe he knows. I don't know if he knows, but I've never told him. When we partnered up, he saved my life. Like, me and my wife, Ruby, 2015, we just had Julie, my second son, and I was working 90 hours a week, 95 hours a week. And I was hardly home, and I was having, problems at home, right, with the wifey. And when Modesto came, I knew that it was a business sense. It made a lot of business sense because I know his background. I know his work ethic is amazing, and the branding, all that. And I knew no one else would work no matter who you hire, no one's going to work as much as you do, no matter. So partnering up with Modesto he's the only one that would work as much as I work and more.
Yeah.
And more.
Yeah.
So I went from working 95 hours a week to 45, 50 hours a week, but I can now spend time with my family, with my kids, with my wife.
Yeah.
So I've never told you that, but it saved my life. I had so much stress at that time. A lot of stress, made some dumb business investments. And when he came on board, everything was at ease. Everything was smooth. My marriage got back into where it should be.
Yeah.
And I was able to spend time with family. So
You took a ton of stress off your life.
took a ton of stress. Yeah.
Big load. There you go, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and that was the idea, right?
Yeah.
Like I knew what I was jumping in the day that, and it wasn't pretty financially, if you will, but it was going to be rewarding over the next.
Yeah.
Like I took a huge pay cut to come in. Like I was, like I said before, like I was 26.
Balling.
Yeah, and then when I came in, I was like, I took a huge pay cut to help out because I knew that I had to also show myself, right? Like show.
Yeah.
It wasn't. And I remember some people like, this is a conversation that I had. I mean, I don't care saying her name, with Lizzie Hofer.
Mm-hmm.
I think she told him like, "What the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
Right? Like, why are you gonna?
Yeah.
Why are you gonna go half and half with Modesto? Like, who is he? Like, what? The,
Yeah.
He's a different you. Like, I don't know exactly the conversation,
Yeah.
but at a dinner one time, she's like, she started crying. She's like, I cannot believe what you've done, and in terms of like being able to come in and the reason why I did it. You know, it was a very family oriented decision as well. It wasn't only like, it wasn't financial decision at the moment. And
he needed help. You needed a change.
Yep.
It was like the right thing for both of you. What was like the first thing you did when you joined his team?
The first thing I did, I opened the CRM and I called a leader and I got a contract that day.
Yeah, because it was empty. Right.
Nobody had touched the CRM.
Nobody was playing with the CRM.
Yeah.
And so I became the, I became kind of like the negotiation guy initially the first years or two, and I'll be showing houses every freaking day.
Yeah.
So I really did the dirty work to really understand what I was getting myself into. And obviously, like, and I'm not saying this to brag, but my work ethic has always been through. A lot of people hate on school nowadays. Like, oh, you don't have to go to school to be successful or rich. And the honest truth is that you don't have to. But school teaches one of the biggest skills that you want in life, discipline.
Yeah.
100%.
I mean, whether you're in the military
totally.
So a lot of these kids nowadays are like, oh, I heard you don't have to go to college, or you don't have to go to high school.
You don't have to.
Well, you don't have to, but let me tell you something. If you're waking up at 10 a.m. every day and sleeping at 3 a.m. and you're not doing your homework, you don't.
Yeah.
And so the issue with today's generation has nothing to do with the fact that they didn't go to school. It has to do that they don't have the discipline to become anything, right?
Yeah.
And so I know I'm sidetracking, but that's kind of like the story, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's good, man. You're a systems guy, right? It seems like you're like the process systems dude. So do you create like drip campaigns and all that sort of stuff, or for your people, obviously your clients? Well, hold on, let me back up real quick.
Yeah.
Talk about, like you said, so 6 times a year everybody gets, there's like of an event or something like that?
More than that. So we do 8 client
Eight.
dinners, eight a year, and then one big summer event. The summer event has to be indoors, obviously, so we do a big movie event.
Okay.
This year we had to get 2 theater rooms. Got about 500 people showed up to this time.
That's plans. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how's the dinner thing go? How does that work?
So the dinner we do, we start in September, goes through all the way through April, and we do one a month. So before we would invite, we would do 2 or 3 a year, and we would just do an invite to everyone. But it was always the same clients that would show up.
Yeah.
It's always the outgoing ones. It's always the
the one that want to win the raffle.
Yeah. The ones that are loud on social media. those were the ones that would always show up. So we said, okay, we always had the same clients show up. How do we get the shy clients to show up? How do we get those clients that are not on social media or not active on social media? How do we get them to show up? So then we broke it down by year. So then we would designate 1 month for, per year. For example, October is going to be the 2013 clients, and then November is going to be 2014 clients, and so on and so forth. But now, as the years have gone by, so now we'd have to do 2 years per month because we're doing 8 a month and been doing this for 11 years. So sometimes we're doing that too. And then we went as far as back as doing the loan modification clients. We call it and that was always fun when we do the first, we call it the first clients ever. So we do the loan modification clients because there's so many stories. You need to understand is these people were losing their houses, right? They were put in a situation that they shouldn't have been put in the first place.
Yeah.
Right. Banks were at that time were giving out loans to anyone with the pulse, and they were not educating at all. So they didn't know what a balloon was, and they were getting all these balloon loans. So all these clients were losing their homes, and the loan mod clients, right? I'm talking about, and we were able to come in there and do a loan modification, save their home when they were going through such a hard time, not knowing what was going to happen. Their hours were cut. Couldn't find jobs back in 2008, 2009. Hard to find, where to work, et cetera, and you were able to keep them from foreclosing. Didn't make a mortgage payment for 16 months, 18 months, whatever it was, and then you dropped their payment from $1,800 a month down to $700 a month. They kept their home.
Yeah.
Years passed by, and some of them sold and got their equity out or short sell or whatever. The point is,
they love you.
Yes. When somebody goes through something so hard like that, they'll never forget you.
Yeah.
So that loan modification clients, the first clients ever dinner, to me, that was the most, I love those the most because there's so many stories there.
Yeah.
And people are just, so excited to be there. So we do 8 client dinners a year, and then 1 big client event.
And birthday cakes.
And then obviously the birthday program.
Do you find that
everybody gets a birthday cake?
Everybody that has bought or sold with us, yes.
That's so you got some going out every day.
No, so it's because some clients use us multiple times.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think our sold or sell database is probably about 220 or so.
Okay.
Because we also deal with a lot of flippers, right? So that's one client that sold 15 houses.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that we have 15 clients. It's just one that sold 15.
Gotcha.
But I think it's a little higher than 250. But I mean, he's the one that manages that piece, to be honest. So it's hard for me to.
Trish, you got something?
Oh, I was just going to comment on your events, especially those early groups.
Trish, keep it close.
Oh, sorry. I'm not used to having a handheld. A lot of those people probably know each other, right? I mean, if you're a word of mouth, you had your congregation. It was probably like a big-ass party.
Definitely. So the Lomar client event, that one, the first clients ever, they call it the CCVN was a church that we went to back in the day. They call it a CCVN reunion, right? Because a lot of them are going to another church now or whatever, and so they call it a reunion because all the same church people are back there too.
Yeah, sounds like fun.
Yeah.
You have a question we were going to ask.
Can I ask a rapid fire question?
God, that's the second time in a row I've lost the thought process. I'm getting tired, I think.
Okay, so I'm going to ask this. Either one of you can answer. You can go one, then the other. What is something that you wish you were good at? Doesn't have to be business.
Both of you answer this.
Does not have to be business related. Something
man.
you can't do now.
Cannot do?
Yeah.
You cannot do now, but you wish you could.
I wish I could remember people's names. I'm not good with remembering names.
That helps in this
That's
business.
a good one.
Yes.
There's so many. I mean,
Name one.
so many. But because I went to a different. I like what he said. I also have issues with that, but that's not the one thing. Like, I have to force myself to be more system driven. It doesn't come natural to me.
Okay.
And that's not probably a cool answer.
That
but
is. No, it's good because I'm the same way.
I'm not. I'm 100% a doer. Like I'm an executor. Like I'm 100% executor, doer. If I was me, I would be hunting every day. Like hunting in the sense of business, not literally hunting, but you understand that.
Yeah.
But when it comes to managing people, systems, brands, I'm not natural. It doesn't come natural for me. So he has taken a lot of forcing and, you know, the discipline to have to do it. So that's the boring answer. If I was natural for that, I think we will be more successful in a way if it was more natural for
I
me.
think that's a great answer. It's
Yeah.
not a boring answer.
Yeah.
It's a
Many of
very
us
good
can
answer.
relate to that.
Absolutely.
All right, this is a little bit more of a fluffy question, but what book, author, speaker do you guys consider important in terms of how it's helped you grow your business?
Oh, that's easy for me.
Tony Robbins, right?
That's Tony Robbins for me.
For
I'm
both
a-
of you?
To me, it would be Tom Ferry.
Okay, yeah.
For
Both
me,
good answers.
Tony Robbins, for me, it's like it changed my life. And I don't mean to like it.
How long ago did you see Tony Robbins? Before this business, or
way before
Okay,
this
so this
business.
is like way back then.
Yeah, so I mean, nobody in my family went to college. Nobody in my family had a business. Nobody in my family even worked for a corporate world. But I always had this thing in me, you know, that I have to be something. I have to create something, but I didn't have the mentor or the uncle or even the friend that will show me, you know, the way. Like all of my family, most of my family, you know, were working at restaurants or cleaning houses and stuff like that. My mom is a cosmetologist, which she's probably the one that has a career, right? But I didn't have the figure. So I came across Awaken the Giant Within by Tony Robbins, and it's a fat book, right? But I started reading about that and got into more books, and you know, it started changing my mindset. And life is 80% mindset, right?
Yeah.
80% mindset, 20% execution. Well, I think the mindset piece, because of Tony Robbins, like changed who I became. Like who gave me the confidence to go into the corporate world and just, you know, like break through the
Stigma.
the stigma. Like when I came in, like, bro, like you don't know how difficult it is to be Hispanic. My English wasn't good. You know, I was nervous in meetings. I had to speak like I wasn't built for that, so I had to create myself. I had to really create that person to be able to manage $1 million for that company, and it was because of the help of that book or Tony Robbins. And I went to his university. I still invest money trying to 100%. So that guy for me like changed my life.
That's awesome.
Wow.
You hear a lot of stories about people that have been successful because of Tony Robbins, and they've gone to do almost similar things, and it's like underneath his sort of deal, and it's all coaching platforms and it's money making shit, all that bullshit. Yeah, you really hear like an impactful story like that where it's like just if you created a mindset change, because that's really he's really good. It's like sometimes like the underlings are like shitty,
Right.
and you know what I mean.
So yes, 100%. When it starts to selling stuff, right?
Yeah.
When it becomes like, if you listen to the salesy part of his company, you're like, oh, this guy is BS, right?
Yeah.
If you listen to the principles, I think every coach, you know, I'm because of that, I'm a big follower in social media of every freaking coach, every book. I read hundreds of books. This is, by the way, not the only author that I will, but he's the main author that for me comes to mind. Every coach, most books, and have some sort of a principle that comes from him. You have to understand that he's been doing this for more than 35 years.
Yeah.
So the culture of coaching, the culture of like, let me find a coach, a mental coach, he created that.
Yeah, they're all on his downline, and they've all stole his information or borrowed it.
We know that.
And paid for it.
Yeah, so right now, like
like Ed Milet,
all
Dean
of those
Graziosi.
guys, I mean, all of those guys like come from they're a product of him, right? He showed them the way.
Yeah.
But so I don't want to be a speaker. Like I don't want to be a coach
Yep.
But if you learn the mindset that this guy has and the way to break through people's psychology, man, I wish I had that. I wish I had that. That's one of the things that are.
But he's one of a kind.
He is.
That guy.
Our dad took me to my first Tony Robbins experience. I didn't even know who he was
Yep.
back when I was either like the tail end of college or my early 20s, and he wasn't that big of a deal yet because that would have been like 30 years ago or more. But I definitely walked away feeling inspired, as a 20-year-old or 22-year-old, whatever. And it's crazy how he became a more important part of my career path in those early years where I felt insecure and like I didn't know what the hell. I had no rudder. I was just kind of like flailing around trying to figure it out. And I would go back to that first book.
Yeah, no, it's
and he's a super nice guy. We've actually met him. He's a really cool guy.
Yeah, I met him as well, and now it's kind of like a cult, right? Which it sounds kind of like like going back to branding. Some parts of his company became like all about money, sales, because now his company is in the New York Stock Exchange, right?
Yeah.
So he has to produce a profit to keep people happy. But the principles or the ideas, I mean, every single coach nowadays, every podcast, they talk about, I have heard the same thing over and over again. Like, I'm like, I have that in my notes from 10 years ago, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting. It's so interesting.
It's gone away from just being there to like create like helping people to how can I get enough listeners or followers so I can now charge somebody $99.99 and they could get into my monthly program and buy my workshops and buy my bullshit and so then I don't really have to do anything.
Exactly.
And but he created that thing and he creates it for people. Trey was a videographer for him recently, actually.
Very
yeah.
At the events.
Cool.
Yeah, events. I filmed courses for him.
Yeah,
That's cool.
The guy's. I mean, I'm sure just by being around, you have to your mind has to change.
Yeah.
And the friends that you
Is
make.
he super nice? Like,
Yeah, he's super nice. Like honestly.
how could you not be so rich?
You know what's crazy, and this is the part where sometimes one of the stories that he says, like, you have to believe in who you're gonna become, right?
Yeah.
Because whoever you want to become, you're not that person right now.
Yeah.
He wasn't nobody when he started doing this. You have to understand, he was a 20-year-old kid teaching millionaires how to change their mindset.
Yeah.
How would you feel if a 20-year-old kid right now came to you and be like, hey, you want to become a millionaire?
Yeah.
And you're like, who are you? You're not a millionaire. You don't know anything about business. And he's like, I don't know anything about it, but I have all the knowledge.
Yeah.
And don't pay me until I give you results. So that's how he became.
Yeah.
Again, I wish I had that confidence, that mentality to break through the psychology of people. That's something that I haven't seen anyone done it in any coaching. And I've done many seminars and, like I said, books and stuff like that. So anyway, enough about that.
Hold on, one more thing about that, and then we'll wrap it up. There is something to be said about for me, when you're young, especially if you look young and you're getting in an industry where you are, so if you're a financial advisor or doing mortgages or doing real estate or whatever, and or you're a physician and you have to treat people that are 20 years older than you, and you've got to make them think that you're worthy. That's a mindset thing, right? It's very difficult.
100%.
And I see it in this business for sure. Younger guys getting in and they're trying to think how they're going to go build a business, and they're going to go meet up with their 23-year-old friends that are trying to be realtors, or, is it going to work? And then you see the guys that are 20, 21, 22 that they just think that they're the greatest.
Yeah.
And they've become the greatest. They become great. But they're, make it till you, fake it till you make it with the Lamborghinis and all the bullshit. And they do all the posting online of like, hey guys, you should really need today's about mindset, right? But you're a little kid, right?
Yeah.
But there's a lot of those guys that end up doing really well because they're like that. They convince themselves at a younger age that they're good enough.
Mentality.
Yeah.
And the young people want to work with that person because they're inspired by that, right?
Yeah.
Like a 50-year-old person's probably going to see right through that and be like, yeah, no thanks.
Yeah.
But there's plenty of young people with money that want to buy houses.
Yeah.
So, they've got their people, and yes, it's mind-boggling to me sometimes to see a 21-year-old, 22-year-old successful in real estate. But we know a few who are in their early 20s and they're
You
kicking
do too.
ass.
Yeah, and it comes all with the mindset and the psychology and the confidence, right?
Confidence is
It's
a huge
100%
one.
confidence.
Yeah.
Like that, I think most people, if they had a little more confidence on themselves, including myself, 100%.
Yeah.
Like,
But people think you do have a lot of confidence, right? People think I'm super confident too, but I'm insecure about things, and I'm not overly confident all the time myself.
100%, because
right?
you have to overcompensate the stuff
Yeah.
that you don't have, right? Like,
Right.
kind of like, yeah.
Do you guys ever get people coming to you for advice, like from like other agents, other teams and stuff, asking you like how to do things?
All the time. All the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is this an open door for you guys?
It depends on who it is. Right?
Honesty.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Depends on who
yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But once we tell them what we do, they're like, what? That's it?
Yeah.
Right?
It's
They're like, no, it's a lot.
It's the
No.
doing that's the hard
yeah.
part.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
they talk about, like, how do you do all the referrals? I'm like, this is what we do. It takes me, a minute to tell them?
Yeah.
On one of the podcasts I did, not podcast, the Daily Dose.
Yeah.
It's a podcast.
Yeah,
right?
it's a podcast, yeah.
With Mark and Jeremy, and one of them, I think it was the second or third one I did with them. At the end of one of them, because they normally play at 7:30 a.m. and it was around 8 to 9 a.m. I get a call in the morning from an agent on my home group, and then they said, "So I just listened to your podcast." I was like, "Yeah," and they said, "Is that all you do?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Is it that easy?" It's like, "Yeah." It says
Yeah.
it's easy. Just
Yeah.
call your database, reach out to them, follow up with them. It's that easy, and it really is. It's that simple. Where
It's that easy if you're a good person and you've built
There
great
you go.
relationships
There you go,
and
'cause
you've got a community that's behind you.
Right. They have to. You have to be likable.
Yeah.
You can't be an a-hole and then
No.
expect people to refer you.
No, right. And you add also, guess what? Even if you are a super great person and they give you a deal, you have to do a good job.
Right.
Right. And
Right.
then you have to follow up because your best friend can forget about you too, by the way. And when somebody else comes around, your other best friend
You
also
gotta be
does
top of
real
mind.
estate. Right. Top of mind is a huge deal. And it's frustrating sometimes when, you find out somebody else did a loan or something.
Oh,
and you're
yeah.
like, what the hell? They're like, oh, I forgot.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, really?
No,
I saw
and
this
and
weekend.
I take that personal.
I do too.
I do
He
too.
does it. He does it. I take that personal.
I do.
Yeah.
That's frustrating.
So, from a marketing standpoint, aside from events, what do you do in terms of like your CRM? What are you doing with? Is it all calls, or do you do any type of email campaigns, social media?
Texts.
We follow you guys, but like, what's the strategy?
It's what we told you.
It's just a person to
So
person.
we tried everything.
Okay.
I mean, when I say everything, it's like everything that is mainstream, right? Like, let's do
Text messages
emails,
and
emails, like, and you have to understand, like, one of the things that I learned in the corporate world was that you have to always put yourself in the shoes of the consumer.
Right.
And sometimes we think that what we're trying to sell is so important that people need to hear us. Like, in reality, like, a lot of people don't want to buy or sell a house right now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And you know how many calls you get a day from people wanting to buy your house cash,
Too many.
right?
All my houses.
How many exactly?
It's so frustrating.
How many mails,
Yeah.
letters you get?
Yeah, a lot.
Now, some of them work, right?
Yeah.
Some of them work. At some point, you're gonna want to sell, so it's good that letter came in that day where you're having an issue with your wife or your partner to sell that house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? But 99% of them, they're like, the fuck is, sorry, what the
No,
hell,
That's
what,
right. You
what
can
the
say
hell
it.
is Daniel telling me, or Modesto?
Yeah.
Like, I don't care right now about.
Yeah.
So when you have them come to you to see you at an event, or when you go give them a cake for kicks, because we don't even say like nothing about like happy birthday. Like, we're not saying like call us if you want to buy
Yeah.
us a house. Like,
Send me your referral.
so, I mean, like, we're not
Do you
even
have a friend that wants
right. Like, we're not even. Or when they come to the movies, like the
Yeah.
years did, it's like, here, there you go. I mean, at the movies we talk for like 30 seconds, like, hey guys,
Thank you.
Like
you know-
5 minutes. Yeah.
yeah, if you have any needs, if you have any questions about the market, let us know. Boom, enjoy
Have
the movie.
fun.
Yeah, so that's
So when you said this, I was trying to wrap this up. Hang on. So when you do the cakes, you what is it like? What's the card say?
It's a
Happy
sticker.
birthday.
It's a sticker. It's
Okay.
a sticker that says "Happy Birthday" from Modesto and Daniel Barraza.
That's it.
That's it.
We
That's
try
cool.
to do it back in the day. Like, can you do hashtags?
Yeah.
But it's also like people are like, fuck that. Like, I don't want to do hashtagging. You know, like, let me enjoy my
Yeah.
cake.
Yeah.
So you have to understand. You have to understand
Yeah, we try
how
to.
to do that. Like, you have to understand like
Yeah.
how many emails that we get a day. Like,
Oh, bro.
like how many lenders call me every day. Like, oh, this is, bro. Like,
Jimmy Crack Corn.
like how many more things can we do to? So you really have to
Yeah.
put yourself in the shoes of the.
Yeah, it needs to come from a genuine place, right? Like,
Yeah.
I want to give you this birthday cake because it's your birthday.
Yeah.
One thing that in our brand that is been very powerful and useful is that it's a fact that we always deliver. And I know
Cakes.
I know everybody cakes and but we always deliver on the on the promise of like having a successful transaction and
Yeah.
and putting the client first. Many of our referrals come because sometimes we might not make money on that first transaction.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's known, right? So we never think like, oh, I'm gonna take those $10,000 commission and never
Yeah.
call you. And like sometimes we're like, let's make sure they have a seamless transaction
We'll catch
because
them on the next one.
they're gonna refer us 2 or 3 times in the future.
Yeah.
When you think like that, that's when you're able to create a business like this.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if you're like hit it and quit it,
Yeah, it can
like
be
Zillow,
transactional.
like at the end, in a market like this, everything is a cycle. We didn't even talk about the market, but what's happening right now is one of the most interesting things that you and I are gonna, experience. Right? We went through 2008. Well, this is a different thing, right? It's a different thing,
Yeah.
different skills. It's not gonna be 2008, but if you don't have relationships, I never been invited to more happy hours, dinners, stuff in the last 14 weeks as I've been, the last versus the last 6 years.
From
Bec-
all lenders.
Lenders,
Title.
agents, titles, and they're like, "Where were you like when I wanted to have?" Like they're like freaking out. Like, what do I do? Like, even the top producers, like the lenders, like the ones that were closing 12 loans a month or even 20 or whatever, their business has been down by 40-50% today, right?
Oh, yeah,
in
for
terms
sure.
of production units, and they're like, "Holy crap, what am I doing?" So you have to have a different. You have to be ready for what this shifts, right? Everybody can make money in a good economy.
Yeah.
Everybody, you
Yeah.
know, in a different economy like the one we are going through and we're gonna keep going through today. I mean, in the next few months, even a year or more, you have to have some sort of a relationship in a business, simple business that's gonna give you those leads that are gonna convert into money in the future, and that is powerful. And
I'll say this: it's the biggest thing, and for us launching the company, like when we did, thank God that we built our business on just being friends with people. And
Yeah.
Stuart and I made that decision like 7 years ago. Literally, like we were so sick of everybody. We're like, dude, we're only gonna work with the agents that we're friends with. And if they don't, and dude, I am friends with so many agents that I don't do business with. I hang out with agents like socially that I don't do business with.
absolutely,
But we chose to our lives in every aspect was just going to be like people we liked,
Yeah.
right? And people that we're going to bring on the podcast, right? It's like everything we do is for a reason at this point. And yeah, you're right though. Our business is still down 40%.
yeah, and everybody.
But everybody's is, right? We're going to be able to get through the storm because we know we're going to go into the storm, by the way, and then we're going to get through it first. Because of that same sort of mentality, and the strong will survive in that.
Right,
But
right.
this
is going to weed out a lot of the.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's already happening.
It's
and
already
it's,
happening.
it's very interesting. It's
Yeah.
very interesting how quick, how fast, and the impact that this is going to have to the industry again.
Yeah.
And it's not even about trying to panic, right? It's just
Yeah.
like, if you look at the data that came in yesterday, you're like, crap, 3 months of inventory now.
Yeah.
Success listing rate is 67 now versus 99 when it
Yeah.
was 16 weeks ago. Like,
Yeah.
things have changed.
Average days on market is what now?
It's north of 30, right?
Yeah.
And
Damn, it was like 6 3 weeks ago, and it was like 1
3 months ago.
Well, I mean, literally, I heard it
Longer.
3 weeks ago, or maybe it was a month ago. They're like, oh, they went up from 4 days to 6, and now it's like 30.
No,
Yeah.
it has been a quick change, and so
Yeah.
you just
Trish?
have to be able to do it.
So I just want to add to what you said, Ryan.
Watch the mic.
Oh yeah, sorry. We have, yes, we're down 40% like everybody else, but one of the things that thankfully I hear from our partners is, they're getting bombarded right now, but lenders, right? And thankfully a lot of them are very loyal, and their response is very similar to what you said with this. So it's like, okay, well, where were you 18 months ago when I was, trying to get my business off the ground? And when people ask like how this is going to work with us having launched during this time period, and I think it might have been Ryan, but definitely Stuart, we never let our foot off the gas with purchase business. And I think that is why we're going to be like way better than most people, because we didn't like sit back and just let the refi business roll in and ignore our agents
Yep.
for 2 years.
Yeah.
And it's
We probably let a lot of money go to the side, but it wasn't our priority.
Yeah,
We didn't go
refis
after
were
them.
great, but they were not what we were. We didn't
Yeah.
build our business on that. So
Yeah.
I think that was just important. Like, yes, we're down a little bit, but we still have we have our people, because we have gone in and saved deals. We've done things that no other lenders have been able to do.
Made no money.
We give a shit. Yeah,
Paid
we
money.
spend so much time
Yeah.
physically with these people that they feel like family to us, right? And I think that's going to be our saving grace.
Yeah.
I'll speak for my own
Yeah,
people, at
hopefully.
least.
Yeah.
Well, just to add to that, like that's in the lending industry, right? Which is different than real estate.
Yeah.
Like I get zero money from refis, right?
Yeah.
But what? Maybe 50% of the refis come through agents.
Yeah.
If at least a lot of refis came through us too, that we gave away back to our partners. In the lending industry, when the good times are good, like the 2-3 years that we had, or even more.
Yeah.
What is it like? I don't know the statistic, but what percentage of lenders are 100% focused on refi? A significant amount,
Word,
right?
yeah.
Oh yeah, we're
Or 80% of their business was refi,
Yeah.
or sometimes
Yeah.
even 100%.
Yeah.
Well, those guys right now are pretty like struggling to make a payment
Oh, yeah.
on their house.
Oh,
Or
their
they've closed
businesses
up
are going
shop.
out of business.
Closed up shop, yeah.
Right. So, and we already started hearing about the big companies that already closed, right?
Yeah.
Or I think, which is the one that they might close here in the recent, like Home Depot is probably in the
The Loan Depot?
Loan Depot, one of those are.
Loan Depot's guys, they closed their consumer direct division, I think is what
So
you're talking about, yeah.
my point is that it is when you start doing things for the relationship in any business, even a big corporation, that you can go through the good and the bad times, because everything in life is cyclical.
Oh, yeah.
And we forget that because sometimes it takes 10 years for that cycle.
I know. Please, God, no.
So there you go.
All right, we're gonna wrap it up there. Thanks so much for coming in, guys.
Yeah,
it was
thanks for the
great.
invite.
It was
It was fun.
This was a good
This
one.
went in a way different direction than I
Totally, I was just gonna
expected.
say that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad it did though, because it went in a really cool direction that we haven't really talked about on any of the other episodes. So that was really cool. Thank you, Trey. He stepped out probably to go to the bathroom.
who's dying.
And Trisha.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thanks, Modesto. Thanks, Daniel. So everybody, we need you to go on YouTube, like and subscribe, like we talk about always. Share, comment, go on to any of the social media platforms, Into the Storm. And you can hear this on any of the podcast platforms. So Spotify, Apple,
Google
obviously
Podcasts.
yeah.
Nice.
So please, everybody, go on and watch this. Share it with your friends. This is a good one. And because we need subscribers. It helps
This is
thing-
something
helps this
you
thing
guys definitely should, and we can talk to Mark and Jeremy to help push it through my home group, because I think a lot of your colleagues would benefit, from here. I know they hear from you periodically, but this one goes a little deeper than what
It's
I've
been
heard
3
in the
years.
past.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's been 3 years. Yeah.
yeah. This is this would be
Updated
good.
content.
Yeah, exactly. So again, yes, thank you everybody who watches, and we appreciate it, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
Peace.